I noticed that when cost-conscious people buy cars, they mostly focus on the total price or monthly payment and maintenance, but they don't really take into account insurance when they buy their cars. I think this is flawed thinking, as the cost of insurance, especially for many high cost of living areas where most people are living, or for young people like me, can be insanely high and easily eclipse the difference in cost of maintenance or even major repairs. People have a vague idea of how insurance works, but mostly just accept it for what it is and just think there's classes for economy cars, luxury cars, or sports cars, but don't dig too deep into it. But this isn't really how insurance works, and a lot of factors go into developing your risk profile, which determines your cost of insurance. This includes the average demographic that drives your car, how reckless they are, how much damage your car can cause in an accident, how much it costs to repair your car, and a ton of other factors that I don't know about. So I'm going to be using the stats for Ontario, Canada, just because that's where I live and I know how to find the data easily with our insurers. But you should be doing the same for your area and your insurers when you're buying your car. This is the data about how much it costs to insure the most popular cars in Ontario. And it definitely reflects my ownership too, where I found that Toyotas and Hondas, generally recommended for their low cost of ownership, actually had a true higher cost of ownership than people let on because of their high insurance rates despite their reliability and low cost of maintenance. My theory for why this is that people who don't care about driving will gravitate towards Toyotas and Hondas for their reputation for reliability, and people who don't care about driving won't be very good at it. The average driver on the road is unfortunately pretty bad, very unaware of what's going on around them, and the vehicles that are driven a lot by these average drivers who don't care about driving are going to be more costly to insure. This is another interesting chart. It's about the cheapest cars to insure for young drivers, which creates an interesting picture of a low-risk driver and a typical high-risk driver profile. I think for the most part here, the trend is smaller cars that don't cause as much damage in accidents, typically driven by older people, your Avalons, Buicks, and Volvos. This is what I was talking about before, where the profile of other typical drivers of your car can greatly impact your insurance rate, even if you're not a part of that driver profile. And again, we can see the Camry here as the most popular car out of these that you'd be most likely to see on the roads, and also quite a bit more to insure than the rest. So the numbers are pretty significant, right? But what does it mean in relation to the overall cost of owning a car? Well, I'd like to show you this chart from Consumer Reports about the cost of ownership of each brand over 10 years. Toyota is pretty low on maintenance as expected, but while the costs relative to each other in a 10-year span are significant, if you actually break down the per year costs compared to insurance, it paints a different picture. The Toyota may cost $500 less per year in maintenance, but that difference is pretty much all erased once we look at the insurance. And if we look at some other economy brands like Chevrolet and Volkswagen, they barely cost any more maintenance per year, while being much cheaper to insure. So you really have to wonder about the real cost of ownership for these cars. Especially since in my experience, these Toyotas and Hondas do have a very high premium on the used market as well for their reputation of reliability and maintenance. I want to bring up an extreme real case study that came up in my life. I have a Porsche 718 Boxster S that I paid $1,200 in maintenance for in the year that I've owned it. This included pretty major services like transmission fluid flush, PDK fluid flush, in addition to the regular oil changes. Two of my friends were asking me about what cool cars they should get as a fun car. So I was telling them both to get a Corvette or Porsche 987 Cayman Boxster. And they eventually decided on Subaru BRZs, although one of them got a Toyota GR86, which is like the same thing. Both of them had the same logic, that a less costly car brand should also be less costly to own. Back then, the price difference between the 987.2 and BRZ was less than 10k because the 987.2 was a bit cheaper, while the BRZ was a bit more expensive because of appreciation versus depreciation, which is a bit too complicated for me to get into right now, but if you want me to do a video on that, leave a comment below because I'd be glad to. The Corvettes also weren't too different in price to the BRZ right now, and yeah, I get that these cars are pretty old, but they're also pretty low mileage, so they still have a lot of life left in them. Now, onto the meat of the section. We're going to use similar driver profiles to our real life variables. We're new, single male drivers with clean histories, driving school experience, and 3 years of experience, so we have our full licenses for at least a year now. but we're gonna be aged 26. I think this is an important age because one thing that everyone always says is insurance gets cheaper at 25. But I don't think this is actually the case, and I think it's just a myth. I know that after 6 years of claims and ticket-free insurance history that you get promoted to the maximum driver rating in Ontario, probably something similar exists in the other provinces or in the US. So I'm thinking 25 just historically lined up with around 6 years after the time people got their first car and their own insurance history. Although this isn't really the case anymore, so I wanted our sample driver to be 26 to disprove this myth. Furthermore, our driver lives in Toronto, but not in the heart of downtown where you have good enough public transit to not drive. They have winter tires, but no immobilizer for anti-theft. They don't DoorDash or anything that requires driving for work, but they do commute 30 kilometers per day on a one-way trip for work. Standard for Ontario, but high for the US, we have $1 million coverage for bodily injury and property damage. I lowered our deductible from $5,000 down to $1,000, which I think because it's a round number, it's just what most people are more comfortable with. So we can see that for the Subaru BRZ, we have a massive $500 a month of insurance premiums. My first car, on the other hand, was a bit similar. It's a Mazda Miata for about the same price, in the same market segment, more reliable with cheaper maintenance, but a bit cheaper to insure just because the average driver profile of a Miata is typically older, drives slower, and is all around less of a risk than the BRZ drivers. Despite what my friends might have expected, the Corvette actually comes in at a much cheaper insurance premium, thanks to the Corvette boomers, I guess. And defying all expectations, our Porsche Boxster, our luxury sports car that despite being more expensive, is by far the cheapest to insure so far, just for the same reason. They tend to be inaccessible to the younger, more reckless crowd. I know that these older luxury cars have high maintenance costs, but come on, a 2 to 3K per year difference in cost to insure with the BRZ. The maintenance difference is nothing at that point, and even a catastrophic failure would be paid for in a few years. So far, we've just looked at niche sports cars, but we can see some of these trends even with economy cars. Even a basic Camry has an astronomical insurance price of 6.5K per year. At that price, you could even insure an older, cheaper luxury car with the same or more features, better quality all around, less mileage, and be cheaper per year to own. I feel like I'm going insane because no one is talking about this, and I'm the only one that's noticing that it's cheaper to buy and own a luxury car than the Hondas or Toyotas everyone is mentioning. That even sports cars are cheaper to insure than a similar year base Accord or Civic? Some people might not like these smaller insurers though. A lot of people have had bad experiences with them when it comes time to make a claim, so I also took quotes from a major bank. Really, they'll all be similar since they all underwrite for the same insurers, and the results are a bit interesting. It's crazy to me that there's people out there actually paying these rates, because I know my friends with BRZs do pay around 7 to 8K per year for them. Now I know many people will be saying, why am I looking at such new cars? I should be looking at old commuter cars too for more of an apples to apples comparison. Well, the answer is, it doesn't really matter that much because the damage you cause to others is still consistent despite having an older car. And while it's more economical to run less coverage on an older car than full coverage with a newer car, you're still lagging behind even some of the luxury cars, especially considering you're in a much worse car with much worse features. You can see my other video on why I regret buying a cheap beater car for why I personally hate buying these cheap old economy cars. And the only reason I'm not going any older than 2012 is because the commuter cars older than this have already rusted out up here in Canada, and you won't really find anything much older than 2012 that'll last for a while. I'm not saying everyone should go out and buy used luxury cars. That would be insane. I just think that insurance adds a lot to the cost of owning a car, and when people look at these cars with low maintenance, it's not telling the full story, and many cars with more expensive maintenance and maybe even a lower buy-in price have a lower total cost of ownership because of that lower cost of insurance. So if you keep an open mind, you'll be able to find many good deals on cars you don't expect to be cheap to own just because the insurance rate is low enough to mitigate any additional expenses you might encounter. So really let me know what you think about this and if I'm crazy or not, because I feel like I just finished an exam early but noticed everyone else still writing. So I can't help but feel like I did something wrong, but I don't understand why no one is talking about this. The numbers are clear as day in front of me, so I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this one. Like if you liked my insane theory, and don't forget to leave a sub if you want to hear more from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.